video is a continuation of a panel discussion on Purplexed channel, where a local from Truckee is talking about various things that have been raised in relation to Kiely's case and answering questions by other panellists with regards to the community. For those of you who may not have listened to the original video that I put out, the first video in this series, I will just mention that this person is not anyone that we are aware of in connection with Kiely's case. It is not anyone that has been named in connection with Kiely's case. It is simply someone from within the Truckee community. That said, because it is someone from the Truckee community and they are talking about things relating to their own community, I have at least made an effort to alter the pitch of their voice to give them some amount of anonymity. But in terms of speculation, unless you are a Truckee local, then maybe you might recognise the voice. But for the rest of us, this is someone entirely anonymous that we have not encountered in relation to Kiely's case. So let's listen to this part of the panel discussion.
Guys, she's not Zanime, I promise you. Zanime has an accent. This girl has no accent. She has a California accent.
To be honest, I didn't know who Zanime was until this case. So I'm a little behind.
You don't want to know. That's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down. Believe me.
Oh, I'm too deep. I can't go any further.
She's just, honestly, Zanime she's kind of like Meghan. She just inserted herself into something and wonders why people ran with it. That's it.
And I will say being in a small community is something that you have to be aware of. There are, it's like when everyone knows everyone's business, that's true, but there are also people who want to know everyone's business. So living in a small community, you have to be really aware about that, about who you're talking to, who's listening, because there are some people who might just want to have a conversation with you. But on the other hand, there might be someone who's listening who just wants to be in the conversation, wants to know things just to be able to talk about it. And it is one of the hard things about growing up in a community like this is you never really know people's intentions.
That's true.
So in the previous video, this lady did admit that she doesn't know Meghan at all and she's never met her and she doesn't know her family. But I thought this was so very relevant. First of all, when Purplexed describes Meghan as being someone who inserted themselves into something and then wonders why people ran with it. Spot on. I think Purplexed is really good at basically saying things exactly how they are. She sees through all the bullcrap and sees things for exactly what they are and names things for exactly what they are. And then this lady talks about how in a small community you get these people who basically want to know everyone's business. So here she is, she's talking about Meghan Cole, and she doesn't know her, but in her observation from what she's seen, she is describing Meghan Cole as someone who does want to know everyone's business, someone who has to insert themselves and has to be part of the conversation so that they can then go away and share that conversation and feel important. So I think this person is quite perceptive, and I think that's a pretty accurate description of what we saw in terms of Meghan Cole. I think a lot of the information that she gained from Sammy was perhaps so that she could come out on public, like on social media, and be the expert that knows things. Perhaps that is why she was supposedly standing up for Sammy. It was just an excuse to try and get more information from Sammy and insert herself further into the case. possible?
Hold on. Super chat. Hey, Dylan. I'm still not convinced this is as simple as she drove in the lake. What about her being found in the hatch with the seatbelt hanging out? See, I forgot about the seatbelt hanging out.
Has it been verified it was a seatbelt hanging out the back? Because like I said, I went through so many YouTube videos. I saw it could have been the strap from the seat, but that kind of seemed debunked.
I don't know. No, I can't say it's been verified because we haven't gotten verification on anything yet.
While I think that she's definitely right that we haven't received any kind of verification that was a seatbelt strap or a seatbelt hanging out. At the same time, I think we can be confident that in terms of width, that is far too wide to be any kind of snatch strap. Can you imagine trying to grip something that wide with your hand to pull the boot shut? It would be really hard. It would be really awkward. I don't think it's a snatch strap. And I know it's been debated back and forth, but I think while it is hard to be precise with what it is, I don't believe it's a snatch strap. Maybe it could be a strap of a bag or something that's stuck in there. Maybe it is a seatbelt stuck in there. I know we all like to believe that it is a seatbelt, but we also have to accept that there could be other possibilities. And I know this will make me unpopular for saying that. However, at the same time, we have to bear in mind there was a conversation which Nick Rinn had with Barbara Butcher when he was talking about him having seen a leg hanging down. Now, the accounts have varied, and it's possible that him saying he saw a leg as opposed to two legs is that because the other leg was further back and behind, so he was at an angle where he couldn't. But when he questioned Barbara Butcher about limbs hanging down, her answer was, well, that's what you would expect to see. You would see all the limbs hanging down. But Nick never saw arms hanging down, which is what you would expect to see if the body was unsecured. You would expect to see all the limbs hanging down, not just the legs or one leg. That's just my observation, which I think supports the theory that this is a seatbelt that was used to strap her in.
And that's what's hard is like everyone here in Truckee hasn't had verification for anything either, which, like I said, has led me down this YouTube rabbit hole of just searching for answers because everyone is so frustrated.
I agree.
I think it is really important here to note that she said that locals were really frustrated with law enforcement also, with the lack of answers, with their silence, with them not saying anything.
Millbilly and Mindy, I give you 5 minutes. What's up, Millbilly?
How you doing, Laura?
What's up, Mindy?
Hey.
I have a question. How are the news reports been? I mean, the local news.
I haven't heard anything, and honestly, I logged on to Google today and I searched Kiely Rodni, thinking that there would be some story that popped up about the video of the car going into the water, and there's nothing. I think the most recent article that I was able to find was from 2 days ago, and it was, let me pull it up really quick. It's from Finger Lakes, and it just says Kiely Rodni update. The death is still a mystery. And as far as local news information reporting goes, there's been absolutely nothing, which tags on to me saying a lot of people are very frustrated with the lack of communication.
So it's interesting that as a local, she's been trying to hunt down more information because of the absence of information. And she's saying here that there's been no local reporting. There was something 2 days ago that sounds like it was very brief, but then since then she'd seen nothing. So it sounds like there was a silence from the local media after Kiely was found. So why the silence? Why the continued silence over claims by Adventures with Purpose? Why the silence over the fire cams? These are questions that I have. Why has media gone so silent over Kiely's case? And especially the local media. Why did it go so silent over Kiely's case when there are so many questions still to be had? And I think it is in some way a little reassuring to know that there are locals who are just as frustrated at the silence and just as confused by the silence because they want answers.
Especially with something like this going on in this community. This is not something common. When something like this happens, the community does come together, and that is something that is so beautiful about Truckee. It's like, even if you did not know that person directly, you know people who did, and people will come together to support complete strangers just because this town, it's a very close town. But like I said, there's been zero information released to the locals regarding this case.
All right.
I understand what she's saying about the community and people being close and people coming together to support each other in the community, and that people have connections to other people in the community, whether it's they know someone who knows them or that, those sort of 1 degree of separation, 2 degrees of separation kind of connections. You see that in small communities. But for me, there is still that ick factor of referring to it as a community because of the Truckee way. And I think while for this individual she wasn't referring to the Truckee way, I think once you start looking at the community and to start talking about how the community looks after its own, etc., then you are crossing over the line into the dark waters of the Truckee way. Although at the same time, by admitting that they're being kept in the dark, there is an indication there that, for some people at least, that the community isn't quite as fabulous as they would wish, and that there is a lack of communication that shouldn't be occurring in their community.
I would like to say, like I said, I'm a little bit older, so I don't directly know a lot of the people involved in this case. But if anyone has any questions about the community, the people who live here, anything, I would love to chat about it.
What are the people in the community saying?
What are they seeing, or what are they saying?
What are they saying? What is the most popular opinion?
I would say it's pretty split. I think a lot of people, I don't want to say they don't want to talk about it anymore, but they're just, I don't know if it's a loss, like a feeling of hopelessness, but it's pretty split. There's a good amount of people that think it was an accident, and then there are a good amount of people that still believe that there was foul play. And I mean, even with the footage that came out of the car going into the lake, I saw that for the first time. I think it was just yesterday it came out. I was shocked about that.
It's interesting that she talks about the community being kind of evenly split in terms of accident or foul play. And this is not the first time we've heard this. We've heard this from several locals. So this is actually in contrast to Meghan's continual claims that the entire community believe it to be an accident. What I did find interesting was her saying that she felt that the silence was more about a sense of helplessness. So perhaps, I think what she's referring to there is the notion that saying something isn't going to change anything, and perhaps it is that belief that law enforcement are going to rule it an accident regardless, and people feel that they don't have a voice in their community. So I guess my question is, what does it take to allow people to get past that fear of speaking out and to actually speak up and say that things aren't right in their community and demand change? Because right now it sounds like people are just too afraid to come forward.
And, I would actually like to answer this question about the fentanyl overdose in Truckee. There is a fentanyl problem here.
Isn't it no problem everywhere?
Yes, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It is, and it's increasing everywhere, but our overdose rate has been increasing a lot lately, and you will see it spike too. Like there won't be any overdoses, and then all of a sudden there will be like 4 or 5 overdoses within 2 days, which for having a small town, that's a good amount. Like back in July, I personally knew 3 people who, not close friends of mine, but heard of 3 people who I knew that overdosed on fentanyl, cocaine-laced fentanyl-laced cocaine within 2 days. So, I would say it's a possibility. Fentanyl has definitely been a problem up here, and it has been coming in disguised in drugs that people probably wouldn't really think about.
So it's crazy that even within the community, it is so well known that fentanyl overdoses have become a major issue in Truckee. And yet, when we look at the toxicology results, they didn't run any tests for synthetic fentanyl or other synthetic drugs. So why? She's also spoken there about coke that was laced with fentanyl, and that a month before Kiely died, 3 people that she knew overdosed within a space of 2 days. So we certainly can't eliminate the possibility of Kiely having an overdose. And we really do need to question why so many tests were not done when it comes to Kiely's autopsy. Although I guess also, if we go back to the YouTube short that I released a few weeks ago, perhaps the tests were done and the results were kept from the public. We don't know that.
Mindy, do you have another question?
Yeah, my question is, I put this in chat, but on Kurt's live, am I getting this right? Meghan had this recording the entire week, and all of a sudden she brought this out, but at the same time we found out a couple YouTubers had the footage because she sent it to them?
All right, so the only way that I can answer that is just my own personal feeling. I don't think she knew that other YouTubers were going to put it out, maybe?
She had to have sent it to them, though.
I agree.
And all of a sudden it broke today on his live that she had this info of this woman saying on a recording that she thought she saw Kiely's car go into the... It just seemed like we were missing that she dropped this whole piece of this explosion, and she's avoided it all week when she knew she had it.
Well, someone had actually sent a question that said, Perplexed, on another interview, she said she had new info but needed to talk to her pastor and her dad first. She said we would all be apologizing to Sammy because of said info now. Ask her what it is, please. So that was earlier on in the night, and then she actually answered it. And when she was talking about it, she said, she had to talk to a pastor. So I didn't even need to ask her the question because I realized she was talking about the video. So she had spoke about it a couple of days ago, or this was I forgot what channel they said. It was Chris Watts Obsessed or something. That was the video. I mean, that was the channel name. It was Chris Watts something. I don't remember the whole name. And she had talked about it on that interview. So she definitely talked about it previously.
But like in Kurt's live, all of a sudden it was like, boom, she's dropping this. And 2 YouTubers had already had it. So she had to have sent that to them intentionally.
Yeah, that's true.
I just feel like she kind of slipped it in there and people didn't realize, like, wait a second, this girl's had this video for a week.
Well, it might be. Oh, all right. She said she spoke about Chris Watts AT. Oh, no. There's a channel, Chris Watts. Yeah, she did the video to Crime Stories Obsessed UK.
So in case you hadn't figured it out, she's talking about the channel What's the Obsession. And yeah, before going on this panel here, which will come up later, Meghan had gone on What's the Obsession, talking about how, yeah, she was going to drop something that was going to clear Sammy's name. And then she goes on Kurt's panel and drops the audio. So that's what they're talking about right here. But it is a valid point. Why did she sit on it for so long? It sounds ridiculous saying that she wanted to take it to her pastor. And why did she need to go around and drop it on all these channels? Particularly given that, by her own admission, she actually never took it to law enforcement. So she's basically done an illegal recording, and then, rather than doing the right thing and taking it to FBI or local law enforcement, she's basically done a tour of YouTube and shared the recording with whoever wanted it.
Because they had posted it.
Right. She had to have sent it to somebody for somebody to get it. It was on her phone. She's the only person in the world who had that footage.
I just don't understand how she keeps going on all these people's channels, but she can't get her story straight.
That's why, because she's been on so many channels.
Yeah, and then just
You
drop
don't
the bomb,
forget the truth. You don't forget the truth.
I agree with you, and yes, I agree with you 100%. And like I said, even listening to the interview, it's all over the place, and there's so many loose ends, and it's like a connect the dots that you can't even connect the dots with her.
Okay, this has to be one of the best descriptions we've heard of Meghan's accounts. It's like a connect the dots, but you can't connect the dots. So true. And the point was made here that she's done so many panels that she can't remember what she said, and her story keeps changing. And one of the panelists has said, the thing is, if you're telling the truth, your story isn't going to change. You don't have to try and remember what you said on the last panel, because you're going to remember it because it's the truth. So there's some really, really good points here. These guys are they're onto it. I think they're quite perceptive in terms of talking about Meghan, and I think they've made some really, really good points. Why did she keep changing her story? Because clearly she wasn't telling the truth all the time, because your story doesn't change if you're telling the truth. Your story only changes when you get caught out in a lie and you have to change your story to fix the lie. I'm going to stop it right there, because the next thing that they get into is they go down the rabbit hole of the Truckee way. And I think that's something that I would like to at least look at in an individual video, or I need to recognise the fact that this could be kind of lengthy, and this video is already up to 20 minutes or over 20 minutes. So my next video will be tackling what this particular local, how she sees the Truckee way, her observations of the Truckee way. So thanks for listening. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Please hit the like button and leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about some of the things that have been covered in this video. Thank you.
I've been to